Another very eclectic mix of Rancid songs. It feels
Mhm.
like they were really trying to, not really trying to, but like they really just kind of found their sound again. And this is where they kind of perfected it. Let's talk about the follow-up to Indestructible.
Mhm.
Was it 5 or 6 years later they
Yeah,
did
it was
Let the Dominoes Fall?
09, so about 6, yeah.
So Let the Dominoes
Mhm.
Fall. Another very eclectic mix of Rancid songs. It feels
Mhm.
like they were really trying to, not really trying to, but like they really just kind of found their sound again. And this is where they kind of perfected it. Like they fell out of it with Life Won't Wait in 2000, and they tried to get back there with Indestructible, and then Dominoes is like, oh yeah, shit, here we are. Sorry. And it's like, that song, The Highway, it almost made the cut. It's such a great Rancid type song. I just wanted to mention that one.
Great song.
But Let the Dominoes Fall was an early acoustic version punk rock album. It
Mhm.
came out with two versions.
Yeah, that huge one. I had that. That's the version I had, was that huge one. So I had all
Yeah.
these songs. Like that was the album for me, was that massive album.
Yeah.
Got it in Texas, actually. Funny story.
Awesome. Dude, I remember when this one came out, I listened to it once and I was like, huh, I don't know how I feel about this. And I put it away. And again, I was at band practice when this album came out. And I think I listened to Indestructible again. And I was like, I don't know, man. And then I just kind of put both of them away. And
Mhm.
years later, I rediscovered Dominoes and was like, oh no, I just needed to wait until it was appropriate. I need this album in my life because East Bay Night is so perfect and beautiful. I love that song.
When he says, "I heard the freeway fall," like that's such a funny line. The way he delivers that, like talking about the earthquake. I've heard the freeway fall. Just and you know what he's talking about. It's like didn't even have to fit in a lot of words in there. That's such good songwriting on that song.
It's also got one of their best songs of all time, like lyrically. But I don't know, man. How'd you discover Let Dominoes Fall, and what was your initial thoughts on the record?
Yeah, so I would say like between like 09 through maybe like the early 2010s, probably the least time I was like listening to punk rock. But again, a new Rancid record is coming out. I heard about it, and again, like I said, I didn't get it the day it came out. Even I like a week later, me and my ex-wife were going to
Interesting.
Texas, and it was just there in the record, that big version. So I got it. Now listen to it the whole road trip, the whole way back.
Nice.
I loved it, and I was just, that was the record I had for a while because I was in that transition stage, like kind of out of CDs and into like the digital
era
stuff. Yeah, and I just like, I was moving a lot still, because I was still kind of a young guy and stuff. And so that's where I was losing all my stuff that I had, and that was like a newer thing I had was that double set of that album, and I absolutely love it. Like going back to it now, I actually think I've always thought of it as like the part 2 to Indestructible, but I think actually part 2 to Life Won't Wait. Like kind of thinking about it now, it's probably
it
has more
feels like
kinship
that,
with that. I'm looking at my songs. I've got New Orleans, Civilian Ways, and The Highway. Like I don't even really have any punk rock songs on it, but I love this album. But I like, maybe it's their best folk album, you could say, in some ways.
I think that's a great way to describe this, is their best folk album, because there's a lot of stuff on this record. I mean, dude, the acoustic versions of these songs are almost better than the plugged in versions.
Yeah, I kind of prefer, there's a few of these. I want to say maybe New Orleans. I prefer the acoustic version than the electric one. Obviously, like there's not an acoustic version of Civilian Ones because Civilian Ways, because it's acoustic on the album. But then there's the big one, because there was also, I think they were acquiring all that like producer stuff that Tim was doing. There's I Ain't Worried, is that on this one, where it's just like it's this big kind of like Life Won't Wait, tons of instrumentation coming in this thing, and again almost a hip hop vibe. I think this is their first real post transplants album too, so they have a lot of that transplant stuff that's all just kind of absorbed. And then the song they came out, because I thought Rancid was done. Like that's part of why I kind of fallen out of stuff, because in my mind, remember, like they thought Matt had cancer like in 2005 around there, and he was touring with Social Distortion, transplants were going on. I just thought Rancid had kind of run its course. The guys were getting older. And then this thing came out, and then the lead single, Last One to Die. It's funny that it was that long ago. It was like 16 years ago or whatever it was, but it was like, I felt such a kinship then at like 22 years old, as the only person I knew that still liked punk and stuff. We're still around. Last One to Die. It was such a cool song. Again, introduction to to Brandon as well. I want to say, right? This is the first album that he was on. So
I think so. Last One to Die was their lead single.
Yeah, that's like how I became aware that there was a new Rancid album coming out, was because that alternative station I was telling you about was playing.
Dang, that's an underrated song.
It really is, and it's again a little numb to it just because I've listened to it a lot because it was the big sort of song that came out of it. But the only thing I don't like about it is Tim's coffee shop glasses he's wearing in the video. I just think Tim just looks weird. Like he was in the middle of. So I love my ideal Tim is ripped indestructible era Tim with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth, just being that to me, I was 16-year-old. That was the coolest MFer in the world.
Right.
And then you get like current Tim, which is big beard, tattoo head Tim. I think like 2009 Tim is the weird transition in between that, where he's
the poet Tim.
He didn't decide. Yeah, the poet's life Tim. In fact, specifically, he wasn't sure what kind of old man he was gonna be yet. Was he gonna be like old grizzled old man, or was he gonna be like intellectual, like grandpa with the glasses? He hadn't really decided that yet. And then I think we have I think biology decided that for him as time has gone on.
Well, yeah, man. Let the Dominoes Fall is, I think it's a very good statement to call it the cousin to Life Won't Wait. I really, the more we talk about it, the more I agree with that. Did you already tell me your songs?
Yeah, New Orleans Civilian Ways.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The Highway might be one of my all-time favorite Rancid songs. Like I don't think of it in those terms, but when I listen to it, like that one really just kind of hits me. It's a good road song. It's a good being tired song. It's just
it sounds like Rancid. My favorite three songs in the album, though, Up to No Good, because who doesn't like a sweet ass dancey ska song? I really, really love that kind of Rancid stuff. So it's just really great. Damnation is, I just think, a super deep cut and an underrated gem of a song. But the best song on the album for me is Liberty and Freedom. And if anybody listens to this record and then says that that's not the most important song on the album, dude, go back and listen to it again, because you're just objectively wrong. Like that song is so important.
That's a good one. I also like Lulu in that same vein. I think Lulu sort of belongs on that plane.
Interesting take. I like
think
Lulu,
Lulu,
but I don't think it's that good of a song.
And the song you just said, what was the song you just said?
Liberty and Freedom.
Yeah, I was thinking Lulu and Liberty and Freedom is kind of similar in that same.
Really?
Yeah, they don't necessarily sound like each other. Maybe they're on the same album, so I think of them together. Robert, yeah, what a concept.
Yeah, who knows? That's interesting.